is going on, my fellow movie nerds and geeks alike? We are diving further down the rabbit hole of Giallo films today.
Oh, Jesus, God, no.
The movie we're going to be talking about today has no killer clad in black, there's no razor blades, there's no black leather gloves, there is no quirky, ineffective police investigation going on. Today we are going to be diving into the psychological horror of 1974's The Perfume of the Lady in Black. Now, I've done enough of these videos at this point that I feel like I don't really need to exactly explain what a Giallo film is, but if you are new here, we do have a playlist where I explain what a Giallo film is, and you could also see where our feelings lie on all the Giallo films we've discussed already up until this point down below on the channel. Now, without further ado, let's start talking about this psychological thriller. In the Technicolor nightmare world of Giallo, where murder lurks in every reflection and style oozes from every shadow, the perfume of the woman in black stands apart. It doesn't come at you with the frantic slice and dice and body count of a typical Dario Argento bloodbath. Instead, it feels like a dream that started out sweet, but turned sick. All the while, still using Argento's imaginative color palette that you've come to know and love. Directed by Francesco Borelli, this film is one of the rare Gialli that flirts more with psychological horror than with pure whodunit slashing. But don't worry, you'll still get your fair share of blood, sleaze, and you'll see sprinklings of J&B whiskey scattered almost in every other scene. Our protagonist, Sylvia, played by Giallo queen herself, Mimsy Farmer, is completely unraveling. She's a successful chemist that's living in Rome, and at first she seems like a composed, independent woman, but she soon begins to experience disturbing hallucinations and visions from her past. Again, there is no black glove killer lurking here, or is there? Instead, the film focuses on Sylvia's deteriorating grip on reality. Are people following her? Is she imagining her dead mother? Is that child version of herself in the hallway holding a bleeding flower? Don't ask questions you don't want weird symbolic answers to. The past begins to bleed into the present, childhoods warp into repressed traumas, mirrors reflect things they shouldn't. It's beautiful, disorienting, and just in the realm of Giallo. You're never sure what's real and what's delusion. There's a creeping paranoia that the world around her is gaslighting her, or that she's simply descending into madness. And amongst all her delusions is a sea of quirky characters feeding into it all. We have an unattached boyfriend who's just not really there at all. He's disappearing at times. He has no interest in her, it seems. We have her witchy-looking oddball girlfriend neighbor, a creepy old neighbor who looks like Einstein's long-lost cousin, and he has an odd obsession with hippopotami. Weird but quirky and just beautifully Giallo. We get a blind hypnotist at one point, and we get a well-to-do man from like an African country that we don't really get much explanation to, and he really doesn't understand tact. There's a scene where Mimsy cuts her hand on a tennis racket and he starts sucking the blood off her hand. Ew, dude. Ew. And all the while, you know, she's going through her life, she's having these visions, and nobody around her seems to believe her. She starts bringing people around to where she saw visions of this younger girl who happens to be just a mirror image of her younger self, and they're never really there. You don't know what's real, what's delusion. It is so disorienting, and you're just kind of like, wait a second, what's real? It's so confusing, but beautiful at the same time. Mimsy Farmer doesn't just play Sylvia, she is Sylvia. Giallo has always been fascinated by female madness, and Mimsy embodies it with a quiet, unraveling terror that makes the film genuinely unsettling. And her reading of Alice, Adventures in Wonderland, and finding solace in it is a funny way to further signify her losing grip of reality. And also just like a nice, beautiful juxtaposition of someone who's living through hallucinations. And it also is really quirky that her younger self actually resembles Alice in Wonderland. You're never really sure if you want to comfort her or just run away from her. Farmer was a Giallo mainstay, man. I mean, her work in Argento's Four Flies on Grey Velvet and the film Autopsy are just all-time roles. She eats up every scene in this one, man. She is amazing in this one. And suffice it to say, I'd say this is probably her best work she's ever done. Eventually, the delusions become so much that We're privy to information about her past that is causing all this trauma in her life. Her father was a Navyman who kind of disappeared at sea. Her mother was sleeping around with weird men. And we also learn that the titular character, the lady in black who's using this perfume, just so happens to be her own mother. A weird moment where maybe her mother committed suicide by jumping out of a window? We'll get to that. There's even a moment where she's being apparently chased by this man who was sleeping with her mother that she witnessed as a young child that created even more trauma, and she beats him over the head with a rock. It's just brutal. And then when she goes to show her boyfriend, the man who was attacking her, he's not even there. You're just a mess of emotions, and God, do we give Mimsy Farmer a hug or do we run away from her? In the final act, Mimsy goes full-blown Norman Bates on all her acquaintances with a cleaver. Or did she? Only to suffer the same fate her own mother did at her own hands. So what we learn is that all this trauma stems from her being a young kid and pushing her mother out the window. She didn't commit suicide after all. But now, in this delusional world that she's seeing vases and people that aren't there, her younger self actually takes Mimsy and pushes her out the window. And the reason I draw a comparison to Norman Bates is that there's a moment where she puts on the black dress that her mother was wearing before she goes complete Norman Bates and is a complete psycho, walking around hacking up all her friends and boyfriends and stuff and arranging them around this table like some oddball reference to Psycho, killing them with a cleaver. It is insane, and you're not really sure if it's really happening or just in her own head. So Mimsy Farmer is dead, or is she? Again, another weird David Lynchian kind of dreamlike world scenario here. The film takes a sharp left turn into full-blown surrealism and horror, culminating in a shocking, very ambiguous, and deeply symbolic ending involving ritualistic violence, her walking around with a cleaver, and, I'm not even kidding, ritualistic cannibalism. Yes, really. It's haunting, bizarre, and open to interpretation. Exactly the kind of film that lingers long after it ends. Vicky and I looked at each other when this one came to a close, and we were like, wait a second.
Bruh.
Are these people cult members? Are they Satanists? Are they really dead? Is Mimsy really dead? And they're just eating pieces of her naked dead body? What the fuck is going on, man? It is insane. The perfume of the Lady in Black is Giallo at its most atmospheric, visually stunning, and psychologically cracked, man. It trades stabbings for spirals, car chases for childhood trauma, and gives us one of Mimsy Farmer's most haunting performances. The off-kilter folk horror-sounding score only adds to the chills and madness. Like anytime something crazy is about to happen, we get this folky, weird, bizarro-sounding score that is just absolutely scary and amazing. It's not a slasher, it's not a whodunit, it's a hallucination wrapped in a Lynchian bow. Thank you, David Lynch, for that term. All along, I felt hints of The Shining, Psycho, Lost Highway, but most notably, Rosemary's Baby. It just feels like a Giallo-inspired version of Rosemary's Baby, with no pregnancy, of course, but it has the same hints and tones of that film. You know, there's similar feelings of madness and dreams and hallucinations. They're all there. Now, this one is weird, bizarre, and out there, but why I love it is because it is just so different from all the other films in this genre. I feel like sometimes a lot of films within certain subgenres all kind of use the same tropes and end up kind of like meshing all together. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but sometimes like they bleed into one another and you're just like, wait, was that one or was that this one?
Bruh.
The reason this one stands apart is because it is just so freed from the shackles of the normal tropes of Giallo that it is just a beautiful thing to witness. Now this one's a slow burn, but it is so visually stunning and beautiful and an absolute gripping tale of Mimsy Farmer slipping into madness, and you're just like, what the hell am I even watching? What the hell is real? And what the fuck was that ending? It leaves you talking about it long after the credits hit, and that's why this one's going right into our good tier. Absolutely beautiful to witness. There are shadows and just beautifully framed, composed shots. The score is haunting. Mimsy Farmer's performance is amazing, and all the while, it doesn't feel like a Giallo film at all, and yet fits right at home tonally with the genre. And ironically enough, I do believe this one's getting a 4K from Indicator soon, and I highly recommend picking that one up when it does get released, because this film is so visually striking, and just like the shots and the shadows and all the beautiful colors. Hello, Argento. It will just bleed off the screen with that format. Just a random fun fact here that I just learned. Did you know that Mimsy Farmer worked in the art department on some really huge films? I'm talking, she was a member of the art department of like Guardians of the Galaxy. That is just so out there, but really awesome. Kudos, Mimsy Farmer. But like I said, I can't recommend this one enough. Maybe you are a huge fan of Giallo and you kind of just are looking for a film that's going to dive a little bit deeper. This is the one for you. But alright guys, that is our video today on the Perfume of the Lady in Black. It landed right in our good tier, and it's for good reason. It is a beautiful film that I cannot recommend higher. Please leave me your thoughts on this down below in the comment section. Thank you guys for always watching our silly little videos. Always remember, the horrors persist, but so do we. Adios guys, happy Giallo hunting.